First one is find successful designs on Etsy with low competition. You need to make sure that you're checking the broad competition overall to see if there's an opportunity for it. Just because it's selling well on Etsy doesn't mean that you should create the design, right? It needs to be selling well on Etsy or selling well on another website, but also not have a lot of competition on Etsy currently so that there's an opportunity and a vacuum for you to fill. Now, the next one is find successful stores and reverse engineer their best-selling designs. I'm going to show you that here in a second after we find somebody with low competition and something to design here. The next one is find successful designs on a place like Amazon. It really could be anywhere, so it doesn't just have to be Amazon. Amazon's just the easiest one because there's a lot of print-on-demand designs on Amazon. Now, once you do find them, you also need to make sure, again, that it does have low competition and an opportunity for you to hop into it on Etsy, right? That there's not, 3,000 other people creating the same design, because then you're never going to rank for it, you're never going to sell, and it's just a waste of your time. Another thing you can do is just create designs around things that you like and know a lot about. In one of the specific examples, when we covered the 10 best niches that I recommend that you talk about, one of the ways that I was able to have success was create things around dropshipping and entrepreneurship, because I knew a lot about them already and I knew exactly how to kind of play those specific niche tasks to certain people. I knew a lot about that industry and a lot about that niche already, and so I had inside knowledge that a lot of people don't have. Also, you're going to enjoy it a lot more if you do that. So that's another way that you can do it. If you have things that you know or like a lot about, maybe it's soccer, maybe it's fantasy football, maybe it's drawing or art, maybe it's home DIY project, whatever it is, right? Start creating designs around that. One, you're going to enjoy it. And two, you'll have an inside knowledge that a lot of people won't have, so you'll have an advantage there. Now, the next one is to create designs around recent trends and recent pop culture, right? First to market is absolutely huge. And in that previous lecture that we just touched on, right, the 10 best niches that I recommend for Etsy dropshipping, the easiest example that I was able to draw from for you was Squid Game. Squid Game was a massive trend that happened in like a month or two period. And so if you hopped on that trend at the right time, you could really be first to market and make a lot of sales, right? So that's an easy way to do it. Another way that you can really kind of find what recent trends are obviously just to have your pulse on what's trending currently in the world, or you can do something like Google Trends or news outlets and just kind of see what's trending, what's popular. Another example of this would have been crypto like a year ago, or NFTs when they blew up. So pretty much anything trending like that. As long as you're first to market or one of the first to market, you can really make a killing, although that wave is short-lived, so keep that in mind. It's going to be a lot of fast sales, and then as it dies out, your sales will obviously die out with it. And finally, just have fun, right? If you're creative, you should have fun with it. We're obviously in this to make a profit, but always remember that designing and creating things is fun. If you enjoy the process, you'll be able to create a lot more designs overall because you'll be having fun doing so. It won't feel like work, and then you'll have a lot more success in the long run, okay? So we pretty much covered these three right here. Now I'm going to show you examples of how to do these three. So first and foremost, find successful designs on Etsy with low competition. So what you want to do is you want to go to Etsy in an incognito browser where you're not signed in, and you can kind of just look what's suggested to you, just play around, and you just want to look for trending designs on here. Well, let's just look around, and I'll give you examples of finding different products on Etsy that have sales, and obviously this does if it was on the homepage being suggested to us. So what we want to look for is we want to take this design to Etsy and look for the most broad keywords of this design to see if there's a lot of competition, right? What we don't want to do, and where a lot of people go wrong, is they'll search for the exact title or a long portion of the exact title and see that there's only like 2 or 3 people maybe selling that specific thing, right? And think that there's a good opportunity there because there's low competition there. But that's too specific, right? What you want to do is you want to go a little bit more broad. So maybe instead of this entire thing, it's like Biden pay more, live worse is probably like, because that's what the shirt says, is probably as broad as this one specifically can go. And then you just want to take that back into Etsy and see what the competition on this is like. So let's see if there's a lot of people selling this, and it looks like there clearly are, right? Look how many people have created this design already. We're still scrolling down, and so this is clearly an example of something you don't want to sell. This person's on their way to a copyright complaint or an intellectual property complaint. Again, avoid this, even this right here, where you're kind of using like the Walmart logo is a little bit suspect. I wouldn't do that, and especially the Target logo. I know that because I got one myself. But so this is a clear example of something that's bad because there's so many other people that are already creating this design. And so there's really not an opportunity for us to actually hop into this, okay? So let's find something else, maybe a programming shirt, maybe a tech teacher shirt. We could try some of these and just see the different categories in here and see what pops up. And then you just kind of want to scan down and see what pops up to you, what catches your eye, and then search for it, right? So right here, debugging. We'll take that into Etsy and we'll literally search for that. That's like the broadest keyword there, debugging. There's a lot of debugging stuff. Actually, there's not that many, right? So if you scroll down a little bit, there's not that many examples of debugging. You see one right here. You see a couple other ones, but there's really only like one, maybe two. And then there's a bunch of them up here that are already ranked. So it looks like 3, 4, 5 maybe. And so the definition of debugging right here is, something that's not really that saturated, okay? And so what we'd want to do is we'd probably want to take, just like I showed you in the tutorials, we'd want to take a few of these and get the SEO from all of these. We'd also want to figure out the prices here. And it looks like this person's selling this super low, probably at break even at $9.92 and $9.99. This person's ranked relatively high as well, and they're selling it at a profit at $21.37. So we'd probably want to stay on the low end as we rank this, and then as we get further up, we could raise it closer to $21.37. That's kind of the strategy there. And then you just want to take some of the SEO from these listings, maybe take a shot at this listing because it's not super oversaturated, but clearly if it's on page 1 of programming, it's, a decent opportunity, okay? So that's a decent opportunity that we just found just randomly, okay? Now let's try to find one right here in the tech teacher shirt. So this is probably going to be saturated. I can just guess it. But if we search for Hooray Teacher or Hooray Technology shirt, it's like on tech teacher, it's like, what is that, 7 down? So it's ranked pretty high. If we search for this, we want to see what the competition on Etsy is for this t-shirt. And you can see there's literally 6 t-shirts that are all the same. But again, actually not too bad, right? So you see technology teacher, but you don't see too many Hooray Tech Teacher or Hooray Technology shirts, right? There's only one really Hooray Technology, or 2 right here. These are other Hooray other things, right? And so what I would do if I was doing this is actually another great opportunity here, is I would go after this specific shirt, but I'd change the design up a little bit. I'd make like Hooray Technology, but maybe I'd change the shirt color specifically, or I'd change the way that the bubble letters look slightly, and then, or even maybe reverse it, right? Like Hooray in cursive with, colored lettering, and then technology in bubble letters, something like that. So we're putting our own spin on it, but we're making a design that we already know is proven, right? That way we're not going after something and taking guessing games and being like, well, this could work. No, this is already proven to sell. As you can see here on Etsy, it's ranked relatively high in a specific category. And we've done a pretty broad search here with Hooray Technology, where we know that there's not many other people selling this design, so it's a good opportunity. And this is something that you should list as well, all right? So let's find one more example, and then we'll move on to the next technique. So it's a good day to learn code. Let's type that in. It's a good day to learn code. And there's a lot of actual designs here on It's a Good Day to Learn, but maybe not specifically to learn to code. And so this might be a decent opportunity as well. It's a good day to learn math. It's a good day to do math. It's a good day to learn. It's a good day to learn tech. It's a good day to learn coding. But there's not that many other ones out there that it's a good day to learn code. And so what I would do is I'd go after that, because I don't see a lot of other people here making this. There's one here. There's one here. But ultimately, there's a lot of opportunity here to create a shirt like that that's very, very similar. And so that's another good example of one that you should go after, right? So now what we want to do is let's go to the next one. That's one of the best ways. That's why it's number 1. Search for successful designs on Etsy. Literally browse the categories, and then make sure take the broadest keywords in that design and see if they have low competition. What that's going to tell you is that design is already selling on Etsy, and it also has a lot of opportunity because there's not a lot of other sellers selling it, right? The perfect example of one that was bad was the Walmart one that said something about Biden, I forget what it was, but that was a terrible example of something to go after because there were so many other sellers already there that were first to market that were already selling it. And so there's no chance for you to even rank on that. The other ones, the Hooray Technology, It's a Good Day to Learn Code, and the other one, I forget what it was, were all all examples of good ones that you can go after. So now let's go on to successful stores and reverse engineer their best-selling design. So what you want to do is you just want to take it a step further. And so if we go here, we know that this is a good opportunity right here. And this seller is a star seller, even though they only have 127 ratings. Let's find somebody different. Let's actually go, it's a good day to learn. And we'll go back to that broad keyword there. And then what I'd do is I'd just go one step further. So this isn't the same design, but it's a good day to do math is similar. And this star seller has almost 11,000 ratings. So what we want to do is we're going to go to this listing, and then we'll go to this specific store because clearly this person has a lot of sales. They have a lot of ratings. So this person, if they're doing print on demand on Etsy, we can pretty much assume that they know what they're doing, right? And so if we take and reverse engineer a lot of their top designs, again, you want to make sure that they have low competition. We can search their top designs to see what's selling and what's a good opportunity, but also still has low competition. So we don't need to do a lot of the product research on Etsy or somewhere else ourselves. We can just look at their designs and see, okay, what is a good opportunity from the designs that they're creating? So we just go down the list, right? Like fall vibes, that's probably super broad, so that probably won't work that well, but let's try it. And it seems like there's a decent amount of people creating this, a lot of fall vibes. So that's a good example of one that you want to avoid, right? You don't want to create that because there seems to be a lot of people kind of creating similar shirts, even though they're slightly different. It's a little oversaturated. So let's find a better example. Maybe my favorite soccer player calls me dad. Let's type that in. My favorite soccer player calls me dad. And this one's pretty oversaturated as well. You could do a spin-off of it, like instead of mom, because I bet you that's oversaturated. Let's try uncle. Calls me grandma, grandpa. That's probably a good one. Grandma. Little oversaturated here as well, so that's probably a bad example as well. Let's try choose to include. And there's a decent amount of these as well. So another example of something you probably want to avoid. Let's try weekends are for waffles. And there's a decent amount here, but nothing crazy. So as we scroll down, you don't really see too many of them, right? So like we see motivated by waffles, waffle Sunday. As we scroll up, we saw a couple like weekends are for waffles, all right here. And one right here, but there's really not that many other competitive shirts for this, like one there. So one there, but it's not super oversaturated like the other one. So this might be a half decent design. You could also take your own spin on it as well and go like weekends are for pancakes. And there you go. Not really anybody doing that, right? So that might be a good opportunity as well, because it's not like we're just guessing. We're taking our own spin, something very, very similar. And we know that if this is selling well on Etsy already, and so we're not playing guessing games here. We know that another top ranked seller that has a lot of experience on this platform is selling a similar design. And so if we can make a design that's better, and we know that there's not that much competition on Etsy for it, it's a good opportunity to actually go out and do so, right? So I would create something like weekends are for pancakes and maybe create my own spin on weekends are for waffles as well. So that's one step further. Like we touched on before, you can find them on Etsy with low competition. You can go one step further and actually reverse engineer successful sellers' best designs in their stores. Again, make sure that there's low competition. One more here that you can do is you can go to somewhere like Amazon or Walmart and do the same exact thing, because there's a lot of print on demand designs on those websites as well. So let's take it one step further. We'll go to Amazon and we'll type in like funny t-shirt. Obviously, you'd want to go a little bit more broad than this because everybody's going to do that and they're going to find the top ones. But let's scroll down a few and we'll go to like page 3. One of the things that you can do here as well is if you use Jungle Scout, I'll link it to this lecture for you. It's going to tell you the specific sales on Amazon. Now, obviously, sales on Etsy and sales on Amazon are going to be slightly different, but you can assume that if something's selling well on Amazon, there's a good market for it already, and there's going to be demand on Etsy for it as well, right? Even if those people aren't specific to each platform, or they are specific to each platform, you can assume that if it's selling well on a site like Amazon, which is a massive marketplace, the demand is going to be at least somewhat similar on Etsy if there's not a lot of competitors, right? So if we just click on a listing here and we go up to Jungle Scout, it's literally going to tell you, in really fast, it's literally going to tell you how many sales this is getting, right? So this right here we know is selling 300 monthly sales, roughly 313, 9 daily sales. So this is moving pretty well. And so let's check this. So what we'd want to do is we'd probably want to type this in to Etsy to see if this is actually selling. So you know the little thing in your head, I believe it said. You know the little thing in your head, and we'll just type that in and see if that pops up. So here's this exact shirt on Etsy right here. You know the little thing, cool sarcastic. So it does say low stock, so maybe they are selling. It does say this person has 3 sales, so that's not like a really great seller. Here's another very similar shirt. Here's another very similar shirt. Here's another very similar shirt. But there's not a whole lot of people creating this shirt that are competitors here. So that's a good opportunity of a shirt that you might want to go after, right? Here's an example of somebody that you could model their SEO if they're selling well. This seller only has 1 sale. So again, I probably would avoid these 2 people because they're relatively new. But it's good to see that other people are creating these designs, and then also that you can make your own design and it's not a lot of competition on it. So these are the 2 people I'd probably model because they have more sales, right? 312 sales right here, 53 shop reviews, better than the other 2 people that were brand new. Again, same exact seller. If they went out and they created another listing in a different color and a different print, that's a really good indicator that at least one of these was working, so they took another shot at it. So this is a perfect example of a product that you'd want to sell. Not only do we know that it's selling well on Etsy because clearly they created 2 designs for it, but we also have the data from Amazon in which Jungle Scout is literally telling us that this is selling well. It's selling 313 monthly sales and 9 daily sales. So let's find another example. Let's actually go funny t-shirt here so I can show you Jungle Scout. So let's check this one right here. If you don't like tacos, I'm not your type. So we'll run Jungle Scout to see what the sales are. It's selling 225 monthly sales, 8 daily sales here. So let's literally just type this in to Etsy. If you don't like tacos, I'm not your type. Back to the incognito Etsy browser. Again, you always want to use an incognito Etsy browser where you're not signed in, because otherwise it's going to give you search results based on your cookies and your past search results and things that it thinks that you like. So make sure that you're doing it in an incognito browser so you can get the best search results. And so this one's seems a bit oversaturated. There's a bunch of people creating designs. Even as we scroll down, there's a bunch of other people that are creating this design. So that's a bad example of a product, but those are how you do product research. Again, these are the tried and true ways. Like we touched on before with the other ones, you can create designs around things that you know or like because you'll have an advantage there and you know a lot about those, right? You can create designs around recent trends and recent pop culture because first to market is huge. If you can keep your pulse on what's hot or what's trending, or you want to search Google Trends and kind of look that way, you can go about getting a lot of sales very, very quickly if you're first to market. But again, you're going to have to do that over and over again because it's not going to be evergreen, and those sales will die off when that trend dies off as well. So it's an influx of a lot of sales fast, but then the sales die off, but that's a good way to approach it. Again, just have fun. The more you enjoy it, the more listings that you'll create overall, which will give you more success in the long run. And I know that we're all after profit, but if you have fun during the process, you will make more money, I promise you. And then the 3 main tried and true methods that are proven that we just went over are find successful designs on Etsy. Again, make sure that you search the broadest keyword in an incognito browser to make sure that they have low competition. Also, you can take it one step further and search successful stores, make sure that they have a lot of sales and a lot of ratings, and then reverse engineer their best-selling listings. And it will literally tell you in some stores, like this has been added to X amount of carts. This has been purchased X amount of times. A lot of times you'll see the added to carts. And one more is just search Amazon or something of the sorts. Amazon is really, really great because you can use Jungle Scout to literally get the sales data. And then you can, again, search that on Etsy to make sure it's low competition.